Minute or less. Okay, very good. Thanks, James. We are a TSX listed copper and gold explorer focused on central British Columbia, a spin out of Vizsla Silver, one of our inventor capital group companies. We're drilling at the moment. We're just about to complete an 18-hole drill program. We've got a fabulous copper and gold resource up there in central British Columbia, wonderful place to explore. We've got nearly 2 billion pounds of copper in resources. And 1 million ounces of gold at the moment, but we've had a really successful drill campaign over the past couple of months. We announced some drill results on Monday, the best of which was 66 metres at nearly 1% copper, and that was within 300 metres at about 0.6% copper. So more news flow coming soon. You know, we've got assays from the rest of those holes of that 18-hole program coming up in the next couple of months. So a good time to be looking at the stock and buying Vizsla Copper. We've got, it's a tremendously well mineralised part of the Earth's crust up there. We're just south of the Mount Polly mine, a long-term, large-scale producer. Some really high grades that came out of Mount Polly originally. There's 6 discrete porphyry centres that have been discovered so far. I've never seen a project that's delivered so many discoveries. Goldfields had it as one of their major projects back until 2013. They spent $30 million and did 120,000 metres of drilling. Since that time, there's only been 15 holes drilled in the last 11 years. And those holes hit some just fabulous high-grade mineralisation, intercepts like 200 metres at 2.5% copper equivalent. So we know there's very high-grade zones there. That's what this current program's about, advancing our understanding of those high-grade zones and the controls on those high-grade zones, which is so important. Look, I think at the end of the day, this project and property will be upwards of 1 billion tonnes of sort of 0.4 or 0.5% copper mineralisation. That will have serious value when we see the copper price move where I think it's moving in the next few years. But in the meantime, what we're focusing on is pulling out those high-grade zones, advancing our understanding and building a resource around the higher-grade zones. What I'd love to see is 100 million tonnes at about 1%. That'll be a project that we'll build. That'll be a mine. And I think the project has that sort of potential. It looks very, very good. We're drilling in and around known high-grade mineralisation at the moment. I was up at site 2 weeks ago. Very impressed with the core that we saw up there. Well mineralised, lots of veins, lots of chalcopyrite. So I think it's looking very, very good. So lots of good news to come over the next couple of months. We'll then sit back and take a couple of months to assess those results, understand the geology a bit better, and really advance our understanding of those high-grade zones before we launch into another drill campaign, I think probably in January next year. So RG, so that was the red gold property. That property bridges the gap between the Woodjam property and that giant Mount Polly mine. So that property puts us within 10 kilometres of the Mount Polly pit. Lots of evidence of mineralisation, not much work done. If you can believe that, Mount Polly's been a major mine for many, many years. This property's had very little exploration on it. But what we have seen there is some really interesting evidence of porphyry copper style mineralisation. There's well mineralised breccias across the property. So I love that property. I love the fact that we're now within spitting distance of a chip and a putt, as they say, of Mount Polly. It also expanded our land position in that area. It's a massive property, 88,000 hectares. We think we've got the bulk of the district under control now, Mount Polly site. And then the property down to the south there that we acquired, that's an interesting one. That sits just to the north of Kodiak's gate zone. Kodiak, I think, drilled nearly 600 metres at about 0.6, 0.7% copper on that property. There's an identical looking anomaly, mag anomaly on that property. We're just, I think, about 5 kilometres north of that deposit and that discovery. So that's an interesting one. That I'm excited about that. It's not the focus at the moment. We've got plenty to do up at Woodjam, but we'll get in and explore that at some point in the next couple of years for certain. we're well funded at the moment. We raised $6 million back in March. Of course, we're out there drilling. You know, we're about to complete this 8,000 metre campaign, so the burn rate's been a little bit high over the last couple of months as we did that work. Although very cheap to drill there, you know, around $300 all in for drilling costs on the project. We'll finish the year with about $2.5 million in the bank. Some of that's flow-through dollars that we'll need to spend next year. So we're pretty well funded for the next campaign as well. But you never want to let your coffers get too low, so we'll probably look to finance at some point in the first quarter of next year. Look, I think the big news and what people should be looking out for, of course, we put those first drill results and assays out on Monday. We've still got another 16 holes and assays for those 16 holes to come in over the next couple of months. So plenty of news flow as we go into the back half of the year. We'll then look at more interpretation, but the next piece of news flow beyond that. And of course, as I mentioned, you know, some of that core looks well mineralised to me, so I think, you know, we're a good chance of having some very positive news. And then you know, we'll move into another drill campaign come January. So plenty there. We do have on that existing resource. We need to do an upgrade of that resource once we've got all of the assays back and done our reinterpretation. So I think that at some point in the next 6 months we'll be releasing an updated resource statement on the project as well. Look, it hasn't really. You know, of all of the sort of commentators on copper, I think I'm probably one of the most bullish, Robert Friedland and I think we're going to see $30 a pound copper at some point in the next part of the cycle, you know, within the next 5 to 10 years. Reason being, you know, there's recent precedent for this, for a serious increase in copper price. Of course, when I joined Rio Tinto back in 1999, copper price was about 71 cents. We used to have to put it in our models at 71 cents, diminishing a cent a year to infinity. That led to some poor decisions, I think, for the company and in not doing enough to acquire further copper projects. Of course, by the time I left Rio Tinto in 2008, the copper price had hit $4.60, so the copper price had gone up 6 times. Now, the drivers for that really very much a localised factor, a large factor, and that was the urbanisation of a good chunk of the Chinese population. Demand increased, I think, from about 14 million tonnes a year to about 20 million tonnes a year. So it was about a 30% increase. That was enough to increase the copper price by 6 times. This time around, the dynamics are slightly different. It's a global phenomenon, the electrification of the planet. So global demand is going to increase hugely. We're going to move from 21 million pounds of production or demand a year to upwards of 28 million tonnes of, pounds, but upwards of 28 million tonnes per annum. Again, another 30% increase in demand. But the backdrop's a bit different this time, you know. Permitting has become much tougher. It's harder to find good quality copper projects. Head grades dropped around the world. And you know, we don't see enough great copper projects out there to meet that growing demand. So I think this time around we're going to see something pretty special. Copper price is about $4 today. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up 5+ times over the next 5 years as those demand drivers kick in. And that would increase the copper price to $20 to $30 a pound. I think it's coming. I think it's the greatest. We're about to go through the greatest mining boom the world's ever seen. Not really, James. I would say, you know, people should go to our website, inventorcapital.ca, and check out some of our other companies there. We've got a fabulous stable of companies. Vizsla Silver is obviously our flagship company. We've made what I think is probably the most important silver discovery in the past 30 years. It's trading at about a $300 million market capitalisation today. That's going to be a company that will be worth several $billion in the next few years. So check that out and check out all of the other great companies that we've got there. Keep an eye out on Vizsla Copper. As I say, good strong news flow over the next couple of months.